Know Your Counterparty by PM Insights. I'm Nick Fusco, founder and CEO of PM Insights, formerly known as 8View. And today we are joined by Michael Beardsley.
Hi, Nick. It's really good seeing you again.
Hey, great to see you. Yeah, last time was in person, I think, which was great.
In Oakland, California.
Yeah, and I wanted to just give you the opportunity to meet some of the followers that we have on social media from PM Insights, and then kind of introduce yourself. We're really going around to a number of counterparties that are in the business and just getting a sense of what they do and how they operate. So do you want to just kind of give a sense of what you do and who you represent, what your firm is named, and so on?
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity, Nick. My name's Michael Beardsley. I'm the founder and CEO of Internet Securities. I started the company, like 24 years ago, and a broker-dealer. We grew it to 3 divisions: online trading, corporate finance, and registered investment advisor. We're located here in Oakland, and these days we're quite a bit more focused on just the investment banking part of it. We spun out the online trading area and our wealth management divisions, and we're quite focused on mergers and acquisitions, and secondary market transactions and equity research.
All right, and naturally, secondary transactions are near and dear to our hearts. That's the focal point of our business for the data end. And I would love to kind of hear a little bit of your backstory on how you found yourself in that specific area of private markets, because it's always interesting to hear that some folks started in FX or some started in public markets. But would love to hear a bit about that, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Nick. After studying economics at UC Berkeley, where I went to college, I worked for Hewlett Packard in Silicon Valley, and I was really focused there on marketing management and telecom operations. So I learned a lot about, computers talking with one another and data communications in general. And a lot of this has underpinnings for, and were the predecessor protocols for the internet, our modern day internet today. Went back.
Hence the name, right?
Yeah, hence the name Internet Securities, exactly. Went to grad school in New York City, Columbia University, studied finance and marketing as well. At that point in time, I thought I wanted to be a management consultant, but I, got a sanity check and said, I really like finance, and so I was fortunate in that I was offered a job at Merrill Lynch in New York City in their equity research department. Now, I was at Merrill for 4 years, following some of the biggest, data networking and telecommunications equipment providers, companies like Cisco Systems and 3Com and Bay Networks and others. Then I kind of had this idea that I'd like to start my own investment bank, decided to come back to the San Francisco Bay Area where I am from, and my aging parents lived here too. So I started Internet Securities about 24 years ago, and went through all the paperwork, et cetera, to get the broker-dealer's license, and over the years, we've morphed a little bit, but I decided to outsource the broker-dealer function after we had done private placements in a lot of private equity companies earlier stage and some mergers and acquisitions. Outsourced the broker-dealer function to Rainmaker Securities, which has been a really good partner of ours over the years. Strong management team, a host of really good investment bankers. That allowed us to really hone our skills in the late stage secondary, private equity markets, where we really enjoy it, and we write a lot of equity research in some of these late stage unicorns, best of breed unicorns, so we spend a lot of time, doing secondary transactions, as well as we like mergers and acquisition. We write research as well.
Amazing. I don't know many folks that leave Merrill Lynch and say, "Oh, I'm going to start my own investment bank." It's a pretty bold move. So
don't try this at home.
I that's the disclaimer. Yeah, don't try this at home or hold my beer. One of the
yeah, absolutely.
And I think that really covers very well like what areas of the market that you operate in, and it's quite broad the way you're able to approach things, which is really, really good. So across those areas, I mean, which do you feel are heating up the most? Where do you think at least clients are taking their attention or moving their attention towards?
Yeah, and Nick, a lot of the interest has been around, no big surprise, but artificial intelligence. So you
Right.
have a lot of trading that's being done in some of the bigger, AI names. We also like cybersecurity quite a bit, and not so much, kind of endpoint type products, and we really are very interested in cybersecurity companies that have kind of end-to-end platforms, secure platforms, and that embrace really kind of console-driven overviews of what's going on in these networks, which span local area networks, wide area networks, really around the world. And so we're very intrigued by that space as well.
Right.
Robotics is also a favorite of ours. We really love kind of the robotic, generation coupled with AI, which many robotic companies now are melding robotics and AI together. And we also like this fusion that's occurring between quantum computing and artificial intelligence. And there's some companies that are out there that are quite good at that intersection as
Right.
well.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because each of these segments that you're bringing up, when I think public markets, I think those are divisions within very large institutions. And when I think private markets, I think pure play. And that's where this becomes really interesting, whether it becomes part of an M&A from a public company or another private company, or it's just, I want exposure to this type of thing specifically without all the noise of
Yep.
every other part of a large institution. So that's really exciting because those are all more of like your cutting edge type
Yeah,
sectors,
yeah, pure
which is
plays. Yeah,
which is great.
yeah. And you kind of lose that when you're, involved with the publicly traded companies. I mean, they're conglomerates oftentimes, many divisions, and we love the pure plays. I mean, I agree with you, Nick. Even
Right.
back at Merrill Lynch, we were always trying to isolate, pure plays from the big consolidated entities.
Right.
Uh,
And how does that maybe affect some of your research? So you did research for for many public companies, and now you do research for private companies.
yeah,
What are some of the core differentials that you look at when you're
It's an
focused on
excellent
private?
question. And writing equity research for private companies, we enjoy that. You don't have the luxury of having 10 Qs and 10 Ks and a lot of publicly disclosed information and income statements and balance sheets and other things. So you really have to be kind of think out of the box.
Right.
We tend to write research on, best of breed companies that were true leaders in their own fields. So we use those to kind of explain what's going on in the individual industries. We do a lot of interviews with customers and channels, and we do our best to cobble together. We rely on PitchBook and other information out there. Um, you know. Private Market Insights is a good source, and other it's really enjoyable because, Nick, as companies like Private Market Insights haven't been around for that long. I mean,
Right.
they're literally within the last 2 years. You guys really kind of come into the fray, and I mean, it's exciting because in my area, in the olden days, we would be asked by investors and things. Where's this trading? What's this company doing? And have you seen bids and asks and closed trades? Not always easy to gather that type of information, but you have a company, you know, um, like yours, and it's like at your fingertips now. So that's made things a lot easier,
Right.
actually.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think
yeah,
the fact that it's not one broker or two brokers or five or 10, once you build out that consortium, it becomes much more objective, and you can give that context to an end broker, or an end
yeah,
customer. So hopefully that's helping in your business, which is great. And interestingly, we love looking at trends. We love looking at where the market is going.
yes,
Where it's come from is certainly a good indication of where it might go in the future.
yes.
And I'm curious if you see any one or two sectors outperforming, and that could be within the private markets, that could be comparing private markets to public markets, maybe even hearing about what correlation you see between public and private. But I would love to just get a sense of your crystal ball to a certain extent on what
Yeah.
you're seeing out there that's interesting.
Nick, as you and I have talked in the past, there isn't in my opinion anyway, there hasn't been a high correlation between, publicly traded markets and privately traded markets,
Right.
secondary markets being a good proxy there. I think when the things become more fluid from a IPO standpoint, you'll see a lot more activity in the, secondary markets, private equity markets, and obviously in the, the public markets as well, with with new companies coming on board and stuff. I think they're, in a way, they're kind of separate silos. And what's, I think, really important is the underlying trends behind. We've patterned our research on these privately held companies. Really, it looks a lot like the types of research I would write at Merrill Lynch,
Right.
where these are not 2-page overviews. They're like 15 to 20 to 25-page professional equity research, institutional quality equity research reports, where we do not just look at the numbers and kind of the tactical aspects of a given company's behavior. We actually try and understand the trends in the industry. We also strive to have a kind of an educational component in our equity research reports too, where we're talking about some of these new and dynamic and important technologies along the way. And that's kind of the way we patterned our. I was lucky to be a part of an award-winning research department
Right.
at Merrill Lynch, and I was actually mentored by a gentleman by the name of Joe Ballas, who was later inducted into the Institutional Investor Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And he was a great mentor of mine over the years, and really knew his stuff. And so, that was the training that I received from Joe, and it was some of the best training I think one could get.
So it sounds like it served you well. And I will
Yeah,
note, either in the show notes or the comments, we could link to some of your research or where to at least reach out to you to find that, which would be
that'd be
really
great.
great.
Yeah,
But I love the concept, and I want to dig into it a little bit more about how do we make a private market, whether it's research or data, look a little bit more approachable, because most of the folks that are here, we weren't here 10 years ago. You're
yeah,
one of the veterans, you were, but a lot of the folks that are interested are your VCs or your family office, high net worth, that want to say, oh, okay, how can I know what the price of this is, or how I should relate their revenue stream to a public company. So I'd love to hear how that resonates when you write your own research to show, what, this is a more liquid market than people think. There is activity
yeah,
out there. There are trades getting done, and this is where we think you're going to have a better return on X stock in the private market versus Y stock in the public. Yeah.
yeah. And when I first met Nick, maybe a year and a half ago, and I learned about private market insights. It was named 8View at that time. We were working with AI companies and doing secondaries with AI companies and stuff. And I found out about Nick's company, and I was really excited. We had a technology showcase in Oakland, and we have various themes with our signature events. One's our secondary markets for private equity event. One's our technology showcases. And artificial intelligence is such a rich area, and we've done network security, smart grid, voice over IP, RFID. We've done a
Right.
number of these over the years, and artificial intelligence is one of the most content-rich areas you can possibly imagine.
Absolutely.
So, Nick was on our panel, and we talked about PM Insights, APU at the time, and it was like a new window into what was happening with these
Very
privately
gracious.
held
Thank you.
companies. I loved it. It was so cool. Having been a guy that's kind of traced this stuff, and I think things are getting more transparent, more visible. Think of Charles Schwab or E-Trade, and how you have everything at your fingertips. Things are moving in that same direction, I think, in the private equity markets with companies like PM Insights. This is not a plug necessarily at PM Insights, but it's been a joy, because I studied markets pretty much, in my adult life. I've studied economics, MBA, et cetera. And I'm a real strong advocate of fluid markets where supply meets demand, equilibrium pricing. It's very important. And that comes with liquidity and transparency and fluidity in these markets. And it's exciting to see the data now that investment banking professionals like myself, venture capital professionals, private equity professionals, anybody that's within the private equity landscape and environment, it's really a transformation in my opinion.
I want to dig into that. And thank you for all the shout outs. We'll make sure we'll get you some royalties somehow if we turn it into an advertisement, right? But do you think this is going to change the dynamic of the IPO market? Do you think we're going to see, with all the added liquidity, with all the added interest, and there's a lot of demand coming in, do you think that's going to help unfreeze the IPO market, or almost encourage that this is just another market now? This is the private stock market versus the public stock market.
Yeah, I think that they will become more correlated over time. I think the market right now, private equity market's in a kind of a holding pattern. We have two major wars going on. We've had high inflation, high interest rates, et cetera. And we're about to have an election, which is going to determine the new president of the United States. This all is creating uncertainty, and investors love stability and they love certainty. And so, once the election's over and hopefully our interest rates will come down and the inflation will become moderated, I think things will become more stable. You'll see a lot more trading. The private equity markets are a lot bigger than the publicly traded markets. And traditionally you have seen overpricing in the private equity markets. The publicly traded markets, you have a lot of sell-side equity analysts are out there that are really trying to provide systematic information to buyers and to sellers to really give a very accurate picture of where the markets are. And you're seeing more and more of that now in the private equity markets as well. To your question, I think you probably will see a lot more fluidity and symbiosis between publicly traded markets and privately held markets. I think the pricing will probably start to come more in line in the privately held markets, relative to intrinsic value of that given company, because you have less and less opaqueness. And hopefully over time, you'll also have a wider array of individual investors that are able to participate in some of these private equity markets. In the past, it's really been an exclusive domain for institutional investors or high net worth individuals. But I think things are becoming a little more liberalized in terms of SPVs that are being created and companies that offer these avenues for the little guy to start investing, maybe $50, maybe $150, $200 into these given companies, where that has just not occurred in the past. So I think the service providers are providing greater access. You have smart people that are analyzing the markets. You have great, aggregator companies, PM Insights being one, that are making this a lot more transparent. So I'm excited by the future, actually. It's no longer the domain of, the only way you can sell your stock is to either do a merger and acquisition transaction or an IPO. Those days are gone forever. Then you get into the secondary markets, and the more you do secondary transactions, it gets more and more fluid. And now you're starting to approach, it's still kind of late stage oriented where the fluidity is and liquidity, but it's starting to approach the transparency and the fluidity of publicly traded markets as well. That are well covered from research analysts, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're describing is like just all paths that we're seeing out there are suggesting, what, people want transparency. They want to be able to have access. I might argue someone that wants to invest $200 in the private market is a bad thing. I tend to find that right now this market is or should be commensurate to other OTC traded asset classes, whether it's syndicated loans or CLOs or credit default swaps, where you have educated investors of institutional size that are playing. Because I don't know that the same level of scrutiny goes into when you bring in retail quotes or you bring in retail trades that just bounce all all around.
Yeah.
But one other trend that we're seeing is tenders are picking up as well. They're becoming more popularized, bringing liquidity to the employee. So you're starting to be able to connect the dots a lot better than we used to be able to do when it was, what's the valuation? Oh, where was the last funding round? Which
Right.
is really BS in my opinion.
Static. It's just a static worldview. Yeah.
So now we're getting to a much better place, which is great.
And to your point, Nick, it really behooves, these big private, pre-IPO companies to do that for their employees because
Right.
Employees can be frustrated. If you look in the past, there were companies like Uber and Airbnb and others that were highly restrictive and just didn't really allow a lot of participation of a lot of their employees that had a lot of paper wealth, and they needed to diversify out of that paper wealth. So it's really a good thing. You're saying more tender offers and things like that, where I think the smart CEOs and management teams recognize that, if you want to retain high caliber employees, you have to provide those avenues where they can monetize their stock holding in a given company.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wax on about that. I think that's so important, and it's a very good way for a strong company to retain, even though you think, someone's just going to unload their shares and then they're going to walk. No, probably not. I mean, you're starting to see this with the stronger companies. All right, so hypothetically, let's say that you have one of these early employees or someone that works at this company or a VC family office that wants to either sell or has an interest in these companies. How do we reach you? What's the best way to reach out and find Michael Beardsley on the
Nick,
internet or on the cell phone, or how do we get you?
Let's dismiss the walkie-talkies. Kidding around, but thank you for that question. Probably just our website. First of all, internetsec.com, internetsec.com. I can be reached really by info@internetsec.com. We do have a LinkedIn presence as well. We're located in downtown Oakland Financial District, right next to City Hall. We also have a lot of events that we do open to the public, by design. So we have our Eventbrite. We use Eventbrite to really promote, and these are free. These are actually, we get students, we get professors, we get industry analysts, we get venture capitalists, corporate investors, angel investors, just anybody that's interested in, things like, these areas of technology interests that we have on our showcases, like AI or network security, cybersecurity, and also on the secondary markets events. We bring in really good high caliber speakers, venture capitalists and others, industry analysts. We've had Nick participate in our technology showcase for AI, and they're open to the public. So we produce these. I do, send out posts on LinkedIn as well. So those are some of the avenues. Eventbrite events, we have our signature events, our website, internetsec.com.
I will say, if you're local to the Bay Area, go to the events. That's the best.
Yeah.
Other than that, we'll find you through email or the phone. But that's brilliant. Yeah, hopefully
thanks,
you grabbed a few people to pick up on your research, which is brilliant, and really appreciate you spending the time with us. Thank you so much.
Nick, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.